So, we all knew this was happening, right? Even before David vs. Goliath came out, we were bitching about this hypothetical 38th season in which eliminated players would be given the option to re-enter the game after living on a deserted island for however long, and that the challenge to do so would occur at the final 5. So the summer consisted of us calling it Redemption Island on steroids, because that's what it was, and then fall came, and David vs. Goliath happened, and we all kind of forgot about the stupid season idea because we were all so enamored by an actual good season of Survivor. And then that ended, and the promo for season 38 came and made the premise official, and all of a sudden we were all back to bitching and moaning for not completely unfounded reasons. And then this season actually happened, and for a little while it seemed like the season could have potential. There were nice characters, fun subplots, thank you Wendy, intriguing strategies, and best of all, whenever someone came out as the obvious frontrunner to win, they almost immediately afterward got their torch snuffed. So this wasn't like a Ghost Island situation by any means. I wrote an article about this season which was written before the finale where I said the show wasn't in any real danger of dying and that we're all being hyperbolic about the state of Survivor. All of these words, however, were under the impression that Rick seemed the most likely to win, and CBS calling it the most unpredictable finale was in essence lying to us. But then the impossible happened. Rick didn't win. Someone from the Edge actually managed to beat the odds and win the whole thing, and all of a sudden the months upon months of predicting almost this exact scenario came flooding back to me. And I realized we were right all along. This was always going to end up a shit show. I'm not here to argue if Chris playing harder in his 13 days than Gavin or Julie played in their 39 makes him a better winner. In all honesty, Chris is ranked 38 out of 38 in all winner rankings from now on. That's just a fact. This was fundamentally not Survivor, and the mental gymnastics that occurred to justify Chris winning from everyone involved is nothing short of insanity. What does playing harder even mean? Gavin didn't get voted out during the whole 39 days. That seems to be playing pretty hard in my book. Anyways, as a game, this is inherently unfair. But as a television product, I'm actually in awe of what occurred. Even as Chris guaranteed his win with the fire-making challenge, I was practically giddy at what was playing out right before my eyes. This is happening. The biggest character for the last 4 weeks is being eliminated in favor of someone who was voted off on day 8. This is real. This isn't a parody. I may not have liked it from a game perspective, but I was along for the ride and more than happy to let this show finally, for the first time in a long time, be unpredictable. Or at least that's how I thought. Okay, you gotta remember, at the time, and this was just like a few weeks ago, but everyone acts as if it was like ancient history, people were begging for another path than the Rick victory we were all expecting. And then it didn't happen, and all of a sudden we got even angrier. As someone pointed out, we were so focused on whether Rick would win that we didn't even stop to think if Chris would win, or anyone from Edge of Extinction. I hope we never see a season like this again.
The Edge of Extinction.
At the same time, though, it has an identity. It's not dull or boring or uneventful. It's none of those things. It's absolutely bonkers, and it inspires countless debates on how the mechanics of this game should work. And that already puts it ahead of fluff like Ghost Island or even HHH, which the only notable thing about that season was introducing the single worst consistent element to the game as it is today. This season is so important and earth-shattering, I'm breaking ranks to talk about it right now. Not even David vs. Goliath demanded my attention in this way that I'm still thinking heavily about it as we go into Big Brother season. That's how I define these seasons, by the way. Summer is Big Brother time. That's scientific. Before the Edge of Extinction finale, it was basically universally decided that Rick winning would be the worst timeline. Even if someone did come back from the Edge of Extinction, lol, we said if. I said if, as if that wasn't a guarantee. They had such a low chance of actually making it to the end that we all kind of wrote them off as non-contenders. Or at the very least, we were all excited to see an Aurora or a Wentworth or, let's be honest, even an Aubrey come back. And then Chris won after playing only 12 days, and we were all eating our own words about how Rick would have been the worst winner ever, because at least he only missed like 2 tribals. And this is where I throw my 2 cents in, because I don't think either of them would be a satisfying winner, because of the simple fact that they were both voted out of Survivor. I'm not terribly worried about this becoming a consistent rule in the Survivor rulebook. It was a one-time thing, and therefore Chris does deserve the win of this game that he played because the rules that allowed him to get to Final Tribal Council in the first place were set in stone before anyone even stepped onto the islands. But just on principle alone, I have a huge problem with voted out contestants being allowed re-entry into the game in any way. It's just fundamentally not Survivor. It is of my personal belief that because Chris and Rick were voted out, that they shouldn't have even been in the final 6. At its core, Survivor is nothing but surviving the vote and then getting the votes to win at the end. The production choices made for this season are among the worst for someone coming back into the game season. The fact that someone can come back so late in the game at day 36 after potentially being voted out on day 3, in this case literally day 9, after doing nothing but being able to bond with almost every single jury member in a stress-free environment, the jury members telling each other what they need to do to earn their vote when one of them makes it back into the game, and the fact that they only really need to survive 2 tribal councils and they still get handed an idol by production. It's almost like this is designed for whomever gets back into the game, and the earlier you're voted off, the better off you are, because it meant more time to actually bond with the jury. This design is basically broken from the word go. At least Redemption Island had duels that you had to survive. You weren't just allowed to lounge around and do nothing for 18 days and then call yourself the winner. Everything on top of everything. The idol that's handed to him, the fact that it's so late in the game, the fact that the challenge for getting back into the game is purely physical, meaning they're predisposed to win the 2 immunity challenges needed to get the chance to reach Final Tribal Council. It's just bad decision after bad decision. Everything production could have done wrong regarding this season was done wrong. Speaking of jury members, let's not forget that if nobody quit, we would have had all the non-finalists on the jury. A potential 15-member jury. As it is, Reem never got the chance to meet Gavin or Julie, so how is that fair? Oh, and don't even get me started on the fact that the tribes were unevenly divided at the beginning, that being one tribe had Joe and the other tribe had someone who can't swim. Gee, does that strike anyone else as unfair? I'm not saying that Survivor intentionally did it like that. They maybe thought that War Dog and Chris would be better at challenges than they ended up being. But still, it's a little bit weird how the tribes were split up like this. Almost again as if it was designed so that bad decision after bad decision would be made. Let's say if Reem is voted out first because her tribe is unsuccessful at challenges and they have to go to tribal council, and let's say you have 2 finalists from the other tribe who made it that far because their tribe was successful in challenges, but Reem never got to meet them because the tribes were unevenly matched, then gee, it's almost... Wait, that doesn't make sense for the Joe... Wait a minute. Yeah. Wait a minute. That doesn't fit into the "this is a season for Joe to win" narrative. Hold on. Nothing can make my point clearer than Rick, the only person to experience Edge of Extinction, get back into the game, and be a jury member, voting for Gavin anyway. He understood that playing the actual game of Survivor is much harder than sitting on the edge, doing virtually nothing, being able to take 4-hour naps, as he so eloquently put it. That being said, Chris may have only played for 13 days, but he did play more game in his latter 3 days than Gavin or Julie played in all 39. I know a lot of people hate this term, but Chris's resume after re-entering the game was impressive. He gaslighted Lauren into playing the idol she had since day 2 for him, keeping him safe and flushing an idol that Lauren could have used to get to Final 4. Getting Rick to give him back his half of the idol so it has full power, and then giving up immunity to Julie so he could face down the biggest threat to win the game and add another notch to his short but incredibly aggressive belt. They had multiple chances to get him out of the game. They could have gotten him out at Final 6 if Lauren didn't stupidly hand over her idol. He could have gotten voted out at 4 if Rick didn't completely broken, because for all the advantages he got, he still actually had to work for them to be an advantage. He needed to convince Lauren and Rick that propelling him further into the game was a good thing for both of their games. And he broke the stupid Final 4 twist! I mean, that's insane. He did what Dominic should have done and was thinking to do, and it actually worked out for him. He pulled it off, and it worked. I'm really hoping now that because Chris went in there and broke the system, that they'll stop doing this stupid Final 4 twist. Because, oh look, a best player can just drag his 2 goats to the end. Oh, who would have thunk of that? Many people were joking about Reem's win as if it would be insane, but also kinda awesome. So how does someone who was voted out after her winning so terrible? I mean, aren't we happy another newbie player stole the win from production's favorite challenge beast again? Think about it. They tried Redemption Island on steroids, and it still blew up in front of their faces. How is that not spectacular? Going on Survivor is a crapshoot because you never know what you're going to be doing, what this particular season is going to demand out of you. This season is still Survivor. Chris Underwood is still a winner of Survivor, even if in an unconventional way. This isn't HHH. This twist, we know for sure, was built into the fabric of this season, and instead of an asterisk next to his win, I'm very happy to put his name on the winner rankings asteriskless at number 38. But it's still a win nevertheless. If Edge of Extinction was going to stay from here on out, I'd be worried. But it's not. It was a one-time thing, and next season looks like it will be going back to relative normal. Whatever that means these days. But with the overabundance of idols, people are still worried that seasons 39 and 40 are going to be overrun by magic trinkets. I wrote an article, like I said, about how I wasn't worried about the state of Survivor. And even after this clusterfuck of a finale, and the final 5 vote being decided solely by idols, I'm still not that worried, because I still think it's an anomaly. People are saying there's a higher amount of idols being put into the game, and there really isn't. There's still the same rate of idols being hidden. Nothing about that has changed. An idol is played, an idol is re-hidden. It's just the amount of idols being played is much higher than it was 5 years ago. I'm not sure I'd be in support of limiting the amount of idols. More so, let's just make them harder to find, please, because this has now been a problem of 2 of the last 4 seasons now, and I'm getting a little worried. I have a very simple answer for this, which was implemented last season: the idol nullifier. Idols were getting so OP that production introduced a solid weapon to counteract the Bens and Ricks of the world, and it was nowhere to be found here. That is the only thing that really concerns me. It was gone. It was as if it never existed. I don't know what that means for the show. I'm hoping they just decided to not use it because they hadn't yet seen David versus Goliath and they wanted to wait to see how it was received, but that's some weak tea. The most logical deduction is that maybe the idol nullifier just isn't a thing anymore. And that would be a bummer because it was the perfect tool to ensure that there won't be another steamroll like there almost was this season. I'm hoping I'm wrong though, and that we'll see it again in season 39. The thing I blame for the abundance of idols was the sudden ineptitude of the cast in the endgame. They didn't look for idols, they let Rick find them unimpeded, and they made no effort to hide that Rick was the next to go, meaning he had no reason to not play the multiple idols he found because he was the only one looking. That's not a production problem, that's a contestant problem. David vs. Goliath and Ghost Island didn't have this problem because people knew enough to find the idols even if they didn't need them, because it means their enemies didn't have them. I mean, multiple people finding idols didn't hurt either because it meant no one could go on a idol steamroll, but even production giving people idols isn't as much a problem as people like to think it is. I mean, as I say that, isn't it though? They're literally handing idols to people. But, okay. I don't want what happened here to continue, but again, it's not like they gave him a full idol. They gave people half idols that they then had to entrust to somebody else. I'm not really worried about the state of Survivor as a quality television show because I understand not every season is created equal, and this regurgitation of idol play after idol play by the same person isn't a consistent problem that happens across all seasons. It's only happened twice, and Rick did stick in some immunity wins there anyway. It's not like he just played idol after idol. A lot of people in the Survivor discourse claim to be fans, but seem to enjoy just shitting on the show, regardless of what it's doing, and then when faced with minor pushback or claims that if you don't like the show, maybe you should stop watching it, they go, "Oh, so I guess I'm not allowed to give constructive criticism, huh?" But you're not giving constructive criticism. You're shitting on every production design and every aspect of the show that you claim to love. Making ridiculous claims that the show is rigging things for production favorites. I mean, why do you think the show has lasted so long? By doing the same thing over and over again? No, they do it by taking risks and adding flourishes that sometimes work and sometimes don't. This time it didn't work. We all think so. Everyone was frustrated by the season and its weird experiment resulting in episodes 4 through 13 being rendered irrelevant. It was a weird season, but people are taking this one season and acting as if it's indicative of modern-day Survivor, when in fact, this season is an outlier. David vs. Goliath was a modern-day masterpiece, and Ghost Island's shittiness had nothing to do with Idolpalooza and big moves, and everything to do with the fact that it was a classic Survivor steamroll of 1 or 2 people in the most boring, old-fashioned way a Survivor steamroll can happen. That season is bad because of the lack of big moves, because Laurel refused to ever make a big move. Dominic and Wendell, however many idols you like to say that they saved themselves with, pretty much only played like 1 idol for them during the season. Let me look this up. I'm looking it up right now. Wendell didn't play a single idol for himself. He survived the vote with, oh, look at that, no trinkets. He only played an idol for Laurel. And Dominic used 1 idol, but it didn't actually negate any votes against him, thereby Ghost Island is not a bad season because it was Idlepalooza. It's a bad season because it was boring. I, for one, am certainly not saying we have to like all of Survivor. 6 scripts about how we dislike each of those 6 respective seasons. I get it. And it's totally possible that Survivor is just showing its age, and that, yeah, after 20 years or so, it might be losing steam and it might end, and we're all upset about it because we used to love this show. I get that. We've been faced with Game Changers, HHH, Ghost Island, and Edge of Extinction almost simultaneously, mixed in with some of the worst moments having to do with multiple idols being played at the same time, resulting in one of our favorite players of all time get voted out with no votes cast against her, and then 1 season later, a terrible, terrible new addition to the game that practically made it so that you could just breeze through the game from Final 7 onwards without actually having to survive the vote. I get it. No one's saying you have to like Edge of Extinction. I'm not even really bothered by those people. I mean, yeah, Survivor's not in a great place right now, but at the same time, I don't think we should all just be miserable misers and say that the show is bad and that it's just inherently worse than it has been. There's a different type of Survivor fan that inspired this video that I done made. People are upset that Sandra and Boston Rob are going to be on the legendary All Winner season coming up. They're saying it's a travesty that Chris from Vanuatu, Vesipia, and fucking Fabio of all people aren't on the season instead of them. Like, are you kidding me? Are you all that delusional, or do you just really like showing off how quirky you are? Oh, look at me! I don't like the popular, most famous, best characters of all time that happen to be winners. I have to like the underwhelming winners that won 15 years ago instead, or the winners that won in a terrible goddamn season that everyone likes to pretend to love. Aren't I such a hipster? I just don't get why they're still watching the show. Why would you continue doing something that's clearly making you miserable? Look, it's not like I don't understand the burnout. I just sat through Game Changers, Triple H, Ghost Island, and Edge of Extinction all in the span of 2 years. I'm a bit disillusioned by Survivor right now too. But I'm watching the next 2 seasons because they have Sandra and Boston Rob in some capacity. Not in spite of it. Like, how could you hate that Sandra and Rob are on 2 seasons in a row, especially when they're not even competing in one of them? How does that work? They're on back-to-back. It's an entire Survivor cycle of Sandra on our TV. If you're in any way upset or disappointed or even not, excited and hyped by that, how do you call yourself a Survivor fan? I'm serious. They're really doubling down on the fan service this year as they approach their 20th anniversary because a show just shouldn't last this long and because we've been fed a boatload of crap for the last 2 years. So they're thanking us and celebrating us and themselves by bringing back 2 of their most iconic players. How could you be upset about more Sandra? I'm sorry, I just don't understand this in the slightest. There's big-ass statuettes of themselves that don't even look remotely anything like them. How does this not make you excited? Do you hate fun? Is that what you do? Do you hate fun? How in the world do you not have chills watching this preview? I don't get you guys. And also, again, I'm talking about Survivor Twitter, not Survivor Reddit. You guys seem genuinely excited to see Sandra on our televisions, and I'll be more than happy to gush about you about how awesome our queen is and yada yada yada. I will gladly watch season 39, and I am beyond excited for season 40 because holy shit, look at this cast. But if season 41 and season 42 all turn out to be garbage in the same way these last few seasons have been, then yeah, I would probably stop watching the show as it airs. That is a choice you can make. That is a choice. No one's telling you you have to like the show. But we are asking, if you hate a show this much, why are you still watching it and talking about it on Twitter? If you were to ask me which one I prefer, a bland, dull, lifeless season that was only notable because of a game-breakingly unfair twist, or a season with an inherently broken twist built into the fabric of the season but was peppered with fun characters, entertaining blindsides, and the biggest what-the-fuck ending ever, well, I'm phrasing it like it's a hard thing, but I think you all know the answer to that one. Duh, I like Edge of Extinction better than Ghost Island or Triple H. This video may seem disjointed, and that's because my feelings of both this season and honestly the show is a bit disjointed right now. It's weird, I'm more into the show and more invested in the show than I've ever been in my life. but I'm also more disappointed by what it's become. It may seem that this video should be about my feelings of either Edge of Extinction, the show as a whole, or the fandom as a whole, but not all three together. But it can't be about any of those individually, because how I feel about each of those respective things do not exist in a vacuum. They're inseparably interwoven with each other. I'm really excited about Season 40. Seeing all my old favorites might remind me what I fell in love with originally. And also, I mean, let's be totally honest, I do not think the 30s so far, are anything remotely as bad as the early 20s. Like, the early 20s were truly awful. And if Survivor can survive that, I'm pretty sure Survivor can survive anything. And if you don't like... And again, I have to reiterate, no one's telling you have to like the show. I'm not that annoying fanboy that says you have to like this show because I like it and my opinions are validated by other people sharing said opinions. But why do you still watch it if you claim to hate what Survivor has become even before Game Changers? Why? I sound like a broken record, but why? Why would you subject yourself to something that's clearly making you miserable? Anyway, thanks for watching.